had seized up. You can see the aluminum just melted. So these rods they don't have a bearing in them. Hi there, this is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic. Sorry I haven't put up a video lately, but we've been celebrating our 10th anniversary and a celebratory retirement vacation. We hope to get back to business real soon. I've got some big plans for what's coming up on the channel. I don't know how long this retirement thing will last, but for those of you that I left behind at work, I hope you're doing well without me, and enjoy this next video. Thank you. I had this little project where I bought this this little generator welder. It's probably been 20 years ago, 50. I bought it at an auction for $25, and I figured, can't go wrong. But it'd been sitting in my shop for so long, just in a corner, hadn't really taken a look at it. So I thought, well, that might be interesting for a little project to go ahead and tear into one of those. I'd never tore into one of them. So I started to bring it over and look into it. And then as I tore into it, I realized, well, maybe I should share it with you all. And if you guys run into this type of thing, maybe you can get some benefit out of what I've already learned just tearing into this. It is a little different, I'll say that much. But let's get into it, and we'll show you a little bit about what it is and kind of what I found. And then I'll probably be ordering some parts, and hopefully we can get this thing running again. You know, at first I thought it might not be worth doing, but after I've been looking online at some other of these units and what they go for, I figured, well, it might be worth spending a little money, get it going. And because it is a portable generator, so it's a gas generator, so sometimes got to weld up some stuff in a remote place or something. And so you don't have power out there or what have you, so this would be okay. Plus, it'd be a good little generator to have if you go camping or something. It does put out quite a bit of power, so let's get into it. So what we have here is this, it's a Lincoln WeldanPower 150 AC generator welder. So WeldanPower, as you can see, it's got a 220 volt outlet, and it's also got a 110 outlet. There, two of the plug-ins there. Plus it's a welder all the way up to 150 amps. And so this is kind of an antique now, I guess. There's people I just kind of got online to see what they're doing with them, and it is a pretty decent little generator. So, you know, I decided, well, let's tear into it. Well, as you can see, I had to unhook all of the stuff off the faceplate. I pulled the cover, this red cover, off of it, just to be able to figure out what to do with it. Now, here's the thing as I tore apart. So as you can see, these are all the stuff that goes through the front. Here's the outlet, the stuff that goes through the front plate. And you have to remove that because you gotta take this bolt here, which connects the stator all the way back over to the engine on the other side. And so if you want to take the engine off, you have to get this bolt off here, and then since it wedges together, you really have to press that shaft on the engine from here. Now, what is interesting is that they used a reverse thread, a left-handed thread bolt here for a puller, and that was challenging. So I had to go and get me some threaded stock to try and get that off. And I had nothing but tons of trouble getting that off, to be honest with you. But let me show you what I found out here. Well, I pulled the pan off of it, and as you can see, it threw a rod. So the rod came apart here on it. And so what I have here, let's see if I can get this. Well, as the engine, as you can tell, I got a little anxious. I started working on this before I realized maybe I should just get this. So this is kind of what it looks like. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on the front here, which includes the flywheel and the little fan that goes on the front. There's a starter on the back side that goes there that I had to pull off. On this other side, it had this old, I'm gonna have to find a muffler for it. Here's the muffler. The carburetor went here. And as you can see right in there is the valves. You know, they're in there, and here's the lifters. And so those are adjustable tappets, it looks like. And then the head, which is just here, it's got several bolts that go around. This little cover is the one that goes on here, which is the cover for the tappets and stuff. There's a little filter in there as well. But anyway, you just pull the head off, and as you can see, here's the cylinder here, and here's the valves. I've already kind of scraped off the carbon off of them a little bit. I'm gonna still clean all that up on top. But what I was really interested in doing is finding out what size of piston that was, because ordering this, you gotta either order it standard size, or you can order 20 or 30 thousandths over, 10, 20 or 30 thousandths over, I believe. This is a Kohler 10 horsepower. I think it's a K241 or 10 horsepower Kohler engine, which I didn't have a tag, so I was really struggling to find out what it was. It took me a while looking through stuff online to figure out what it is, but now that I've got it, I've done that with it. So so this is kind of what it looks like. I finally was able to bust this loose from the front. I had stuck a rod inside here, and it's still in there. Once I pull the engine off of the backside, I'll be able to retrieve that rod that I stuck in there. I stuck a rod in there so that then I could push it with something here. And actually, I wound up breaking the puller on it because you know, I just got to a point where it couldn't push it loose. So what I had to do is I stood this thing up a little bit so that it would rock back, and I filled this hole with some PB blaster. You can see there, I got some PB blaster, and I just filled that hole and let it soak for a couple of days. And then once I let it soak in there, then I went ahead and I took a long punch, a long rod punch in here, and a good sized hammer, and just hammered at it to try and get it to come loose. And I left it tilted a little bit so the weight of the block, this is a very heavy block, it's cast iron, so the weight of the block helped it. It gave me just enough of a crack right in between there. Let me see if I can zoom in there. See, it gave me just enough of a crack in between here so that I could get a pry bar in there, and then I hammered it in with a hammer on one side, and then I used another pry bar on the other side and found a little wedge on the other side and just started wedging it apart so that I could get it apart. Now, one thing that I learned from doing that is that, yeah, I got it apart, so I know I can pull it apart now, because I want to change, there's a seal on the inside. Where are you? There you are. See, that seal right there is where it goes, the shaft goes in. Let me find it. There it is, right there. You can see there's a seal that goes around that shaft right in there. And I wanted to get that seal replaced, so I knew I needed to get that off. I didn't want to order parts until, number one, I knew I was going to be able to get that engine off, because this really was not an easy task to get this done. The second thing I wanted to do was make sure that I could determine what the right size of piston this was, and to be sure that it was a 10 horsepower. So I got the piston out. Here's the piston, and if you look very carefully, but there's right there, there's a mark on it that says STD, which is standard size. So I figured, okay, if it's a standard size, the size of the piston, according to what I found online for a 10 horsepower, is 3¼ inches. So I measured the width of the piston, and in fact it is 3¼ inches. The next size up is a 12 horsepower, and the 12 horsepower is 1/8 of an inch big. Got a bore that's 1/8 of an inch bigger. So I did that, and then I went ahead and I took the rings off of it, as you can see those there on that box, and I shoved the piston in upside down here, and as you shove it in down in there, you can stick a feeler gauge on the side of the piston in there and determine what your wear is on the cylinder. If you have too much wear, you might need to bore it out and get a bigger piston. It turns out it doesn't have a whole lot of wear, so I think I'm just gonna hone it. I don't think it had enough. If I bore it out, I'm gonna have to do a lot of honing. I'll have to take it to a specialty shop and tear all the way into it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hone it out and go with a standard piston. The rings still had a lot of tension, so I know that they weren't too wore out. So this thing really hasn't had a lot of wear. I think they just ran it low on oil. And I think what happened is that the rings, the oil ring here, which was in the bottom groove, was aligned. So it was letting the oil go straight through. And the other thing that's an indicator that it was burning oil was the top of this valve here on the exhaust valve was quite carboned up, white carbon on it. And so what that tells me is that it was drawing oil and it was burning oil. So it probably ran low on oil. It actually broke the rod off as it seized up against the crank and then just quit running. So in my opinion, I think if we get the standard size and we go back in here with a standard size, and we'll just get, you know, the kit that comes with the new rod and everything, we should be good. I'll pull it off of there so I can change out the front seal over here on this side. And then of course, when we get all this back in, there's a seal on that side. We'll get all new gaskets here that go on there. Apparently there's, these are kind of, they add them up for shim, to shim up, I guess, to determine what the preload will be on those bearings, on these bearings here. So it's important to keep track of how many gaskets you have on there, because if you're gonna go back with the stock, you need to know how many gaskets besides the original gasket, which is a thick gasket that goes there. So that's kind of how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna try and put it back the way it was. So then, with that said, the rod had seized up. This guy here had seized up. You can see the aluminum just melted. So these rods they don't have a bearing in them. The rod itself is the bearing, which is good because if they fail, the aluminum is soft, so it doesn't damage the crank. In this case, there was a lot of aluminum stuck to the crank right down in there. But with some of this emery paper I have here, I just got some long deals of emery paper, and I was able to wrap it around there a couple of times and go back and forth until I got all that aluminum off. I'm still gonna take some finer paper. I think this is 80 grit. No, it's 120 grit that's there. I'm gonna go ahead and get some finer, maybe some 400 grit, and polish on that, and then I'll use with the rag, I'll use some polishing compound, and so I'll polish that crank. It'll be really shiny and ready to go. So anyway, not gonna let this video get too long, so I'll let it go for there for now, and then I'll try and grab some more video as I tear more into it. So talk to you next time. Thanks. Please like if you do like the content, subscribe, ring the bell, leave some comments if you don't like it, or if you think you got some ideas that might help me with this. I appreciate that as well. You can also email me at easysimplemechanic@gmail.com, and I'll receive all emails for this channel on there. So thank you, and we'll talk to you on the next time. Bye.